I'm Shannon Melissa Stockman. I'm a 30 plus year registered nurse, a nationally board certified nurse practitioner, a #1 international best-selling author, and the world wellness expert. I have a very special guest here today. We're going to talk to you about autoimmune disorders because this is Autoimmune Awareness Month. And it's very dear to my heart, not only because this is Autoimmune Awareness Month, but also I suffered myself from multiple autoimmune disorders, everything from severe chronic pain, chronic fatigue, thyroid problems, rashes, skin disorders, intestinal stomach issues. I had hair loss too from it, and even full-blown heart failure. And I feel like I was left helpless and hopeless by the doctors and even the specialists. And I want to share with people, and we want to help you expedite your own journey so you don't have to suffer in all the years that we did and learn from our mistakes. So I felt like after going to all the doctors and being the guinea pigs, I was left feeling helpless and hopeless by even the specialists. But after many, many years of research, I came out with something that's really helped me and many of my other clients with autoimmune disorders attack the root cause. When we do that, we can stop the progression, we can reverse it. A lot of times that gets rid of the symptoms and we don't need the meds. So I'm happy to announce that I have no more signs of any autoimmune disorders. I have no test results that show it. I have no skin issues, no hair issues. I have great energy, no more pain. I'm not on any medications, no heart failure. And without the meds, I don't have dependencies and side effects. And now my doctors and specialists were so impressed with not only my results, but those of our mutual patients that my doctors are my clients too. And that's important to know. If you look, where does your chef go eat? You want to eat there. Where does your healthcare provider go? And you want to go there. So Autoimmune Awareness Month is this month right now. And it's very important. People don't realize that a lot of common symptoms you have are autoimmune disorders. And a lot of the diagnoses you might be given are autoimmune. And a lot of times, a lot of people are misdiagnosed and blown off by their doctors who are many, many, many years. Autoimmune disorders is amongst the top 10 leading causes of death in young females and middle-aged females. It predominantly affects 3/4 of the diagnosed autoimmune disorders are in women. So it's predominantly women. And there's over 100 different autoimmune disorders, everything from lupus, rheumatoid, irritable bowel, colitis. There's so many of them that people have that they don't realize they're autoimmune components. And we would like to share with you the symptoms, what didn't help us, what helped us, to expedite your own journey so that you don't have to suffer so long and just learn from our mistakes. So I want to introduce you real quick to a very, very special guest, the sweet Nicole. Nicole is such a doll. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for helping raise awareness, sharing your story. She is a teacher of the next generation. So girl, God bless you. You got to deal with the kids, the parents. It's too much. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I would like to get into it just a little bit more because after over 30 years as a nurse and a nurse practitioner, I found there was so many patients that were diagnosed wrong. They were blown off by their doctors for vague symptoms. The doctor just treats your one symptom, doesn't look back at your chart and see, oh, another symptom and another symptom and the same symptom again. And we want to enlighten the viewers on symptoms they may have that might be autoimmune, and maybe they're getting blown off by their doctor. So can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? And in hindsight, I know at the time when you had your first symptom or two, you hadn't put the pieces together yet because you didn't have the pieces. But now that you do, can you look back and tell us what symptoms you had that were probably your autoimmune starting and weren't diagnosed yet?
Sure. I was always tired. Just mentally, physically, everything's tired. My joints would swell up, my hands, my knees, they were just swollen all the time. I would get sick very often, even with the littlest things, and it would last for really long times. And I think those were the major ones. And then when I did actually put it all together that there was something huge wrong was when my hair just started falling out in clumps.
Hair. And didn't you have the pain also?
I did have pain. I was in pain all the time. with the swelling of the joints, just in pain.
And did you have a lot of people, some get the weird rashes and some don't. Did you have weird rashes, allergies, thyroid problem, or any intestinal issues, stomach intestinal issues?
So I did get the rash. However, I did not know that I had the rash because it was on my back. And I know a lot of people will get it like on the arm, something. So I had no idea that I had that. I did not have any digestive issues, but yeah, so I had the rash. So
nice. And the rash, people don't realize if you go to the doctor and he's like, man, I don't know what's causing this. All of a sudden you have eczema at like 35 for the first time or 45. That is a clue that something else is going on because I too had weird rashes. And I'm like, listen, if you know you didn't change soaps, deodorant, shampoos, you didn't eat any different foods, and there's a lot of these symptoms have no rhyme or reason for when they come, right? Like your rash. And so it's important to know that you might have some of these symptoms, you might have all of them, or you might just have one or two of them. And that's important to know. And then I would say this, when you had your symptoms and you would go to the doctor and you'd say, hey, I'm tired. And then they would just chalk it up to you're working too much. You're
working too much. Yep. Working a lot. I was working full time, going to school full time. It's like, well, you're doing a lot. You have a lot on your plate. Of course you're tired. Try sleeping a little bit more.
And that didn't help. So you come coming back with new complaints, different complaints, same complaints.
Right.
And then they finally...
I'd always get treated for that singular event.
Problem. Yeah. See, I don't do that. I look back at that patient's chart. I'm like, when were they in last? What was it for? What, like, wow, she's been here a lot the past year or two. Right. So a lot of providers do not do that. I don't want to generalize doctors in general, but a lot of them don't do that. And then after they finally gave you your diagnosis, would you mind sharing with people what your diagnoses were, your autoimmune?
Sure. I got diagnosed with lupus. And may or may not Hashimoto's, but definitely lupus. And it took a few years before I was diagnosed with it, of coming in and being diagnosed for the one problem at a time. And it wasn't until the hair started falling out and I was walking with a cane because I was in so much pain and my joints were so swollen that my doctor looked back at my chart and said, you know what, there's something else going on here. We're going to autoimmune diseases going on. And then when those tests came back, I got referred to a rheumatologist.
Yes. And the rheumatologist is very common. And I think that you had questionable thyroid problems, right? Because Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism is another autoimmune. And did you have some allergies too going on? Because the allergy component is also autoimmune.
I did not at the time.
At the time.
So yeah. I did also like seasonal allergies, but
yes. It's important for people to know because they might just get a single diagnosis and not realize it's autoimmune. Autoimmune problems are the following diagnosis. There's a lot of them. There's over 100, but just these are some of them. Allergies, eczema, psoriasis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, irritable bowel, so chronic fatigue, joint pain, MS, lupus, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, and they go on. And there's so many people that might have one of these diagnoses and not notice they're autoimmune. And I say this, celiac disease is another one. So if people have, say, IBS, irritable bowel, or fibromyalgia, or chronic pain, to me, those are very weak diagnoses. That's just giving you a symptom. Like, guess what? Your bowels are irritable, but they're not telling you why. And a lot of time they're not attacking the root cause. I know for me, when I was diagnosed and they wanted to stick me on the autoimmune meds. Well, let me ask you your experience first. So your doc said, all right, fine, we want to stick you on some medicines. And what did they say that they were going to do for you? And what did they do?
So it was supposed to help reduce my flare-ups. And if I did get a flare-up, it was supposed to make it not last not as long and not be as painful. But after being on them for, I think it's about 3 years, that there was still no change. I was still getting flare-ups. They were still just as painful, lasting just as long, if not longer.
That's very, very common. And a lot of times, and I'm sure you were one of these, that they start you on a lower dose. They're like, let's up the dose, up the dose, up the dose. Let's add on the steroids to weaken your immune system more. Let's put you on a higher dose. You get better for a week while you're on the high dose. You go on the low dose. You're like, doc, please give me the high dose again. Then a lot of women don't realize when you go on these autoimmune meds, one of the biggest side effects that I see with patients when I worked in traditional medicine was weight gain. The last thing you want to do is give a woman a medication that's going to make her fatter. So they give you meds. And also, I know for me, when I saw the patients over all these years, especially when I worked in urgent care, I would see those patients on the autoimmune meds from the rheumatologist and the prednisone. They were sicker more often. They were sicker longer. A typical bronchitis in a young person might be a couple of days. They were 3 weeks later and still wheezing and needing nebulizers and inhalers. So they were sick more often. They were sick longer. They were heavier. They were getting high blood pressure, high sugars from them. Yes. And can we get into that? So did you notice your symptoms got any better at all after 3 years on the medication and the higher doses of the steroids?
So they did not get any better. And so not only was I put on an autoimmune, I was put on an anti-inflammatory. And that anti-inflammatory med, it turns out, raises blood pressure. So I was also now put on blood pressure medications. So it's just one of those that.
So wait, let me get this right. So let me see. Okay, so they gave you medicines to help your other problems. They didn't help a dime with your pain, your swelling, nothing. But now you have more problems. So now you're on more medicines from the side effects of the other meds.
Correct.
Okay, and I gotta say, you gave it time, because 3 years was a decent amount of time, and you went on a higher dose. You added a second pill. You went to the specialist, not just the regular doctor. So you did everything I see in traditional healthcare. This is why I left traditional healthcare. I want to get my people better. And then, can you go into maybe after 3 years of this? Like, I know with me, I was still getting worse and worse at this point. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I need to find out what's going on. I need to stop it from getting worse and then hopefully reverse it. Like, we got to find out. So can you tell us, can you tell the viewers how we met?
Sure. Actually, so we met through my mom. My mom is a nurse and she has her own little podcast. And so she interviewed you. And so one day after taking all of these meds, and at the time, I think I was up to about 9 medications a day, 9 prescriptions a day. And I went and I was like, there has to be a better way. I'm so tired of taking this every single day. And she says, I met someone who might be able to help you. And that's when we got introduced.
Is that how that went? Okay. Wow. So that's awesome. So yeah, your mom interviewed me. She's like, wow, I interview nurses. Like, I really want to interview you. And I felt like honored, like, it's one thing to have your doctors come to you, but it's another thing when a nurse sends you her daughter. Like, that's like, whoa, I trust you. And just to let the viewers know, I don't take insurance either. So, but I think it was well worth it. And then can you fast forward how the visit went with, so they might know in case they're interested.
The visit was jam-packed full of information. It was actually, we did it with my mom. So I got the science stuff with it. And I got the layman's terms with it as well. So I could understand what's going on. And so I think it was a nice visit. I went, thought about it overnight, and I said, you know what? This sounds legit. And not only coming from, my mom is a ringing endorsement. Obviously, I'm going to trust what she says, but then you're another nurse as well. So I'm like, okay, who actually knows what's going on. And so I was like, you know what? Let me try it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And now, for the viewers that don't realize this, I do all virtual video visits like this. So I thought it's pretty cool that a lot of times, if you want your parent there, or if you're taking care of your child and you want your child to be there, or you're taking care of your parent, that the other person can be on with your permission, so that maybe they remember things you don't, or they might ask a different question. So thanks to technology, we did a confidential video visit like this with your permission. Yes. We put mom on it because she's the nurse. She got to hear, because I knew she'd call me after with questions. So I'm like, just ask your mom if she wants to get on with us. So I thought that went pretty cool. And then okay, so now we've been working together a couple months, and I think the autoimmune disorder problem is like this. It's taken many, many, many years to get all of this inflammation build up. So it's almost like somebody that comes to me as a new client and says, I want to drop 100 pounds. I'm going to paint a realistic picture. Like, listen, it's not going to happen overnight. We got to give it time. It took a lot of time to get this way. It takes time to go away. So can you explain for the viewers, what was your picture before was, I remember, what was your pain level before we started at times? On average? Before
we started, it was 10 out of 10. A lot of times, there were times I could not get around without like a cane or something because I was in so much pain. It hurt to walk. There was a time that I currently live alone, and I had to go back to stay with my parents because I just needed help because I was in so much pain. It's 10 out of 10 a lot of the time.
Now, can you enlighten them on your medications now versus what before you started with me? Now, just to let you guys know, we only got introduced a little over 2 months ago now that we're working together. And now that we have you up to what I recommended, the full everything, that's only been, I think, less than a month, right? Or maybe about that.
I've been on the full thing for,
okay.
Started at the beginning of the month. Yeah.
So for those that might have just hopped on, you were saying earlier, her pain level was a 10 out of 10 before we started working together. She was walking with a cane a lot of times, had a lot of symptoms, right? Fatigue, aches, joint swelling, was on 9 pills a day, a few different medications for the side effects of the other medications, high blood pressure from it. And then can you explain for people where you are now so far? Even though you're very early in your journey, I think you got a great start.
Yes, I am down to just 1 prescription a day.
And a baby dose, and that's
yes, it's a low dose just to help get the blood pressure back under control since it was out of control for so long with the anti-inflammatory. So I'm just on that 1 prescription a day.
1 pill, 1 prescription. Okay.
Not
and
nine.
Then what? Yes, that right there, because now I know when I met you, I know you gave me permission to share, I wouldn't, that you were getting side effects of the medication. So now that you're not on those other 8, I imagine all those side effects went away that you were getting.
A lot of them did, yes. Yeah.
And so, okay, your pain was a 10, and now what level is it on average?
Average is about 5, 6.
Okay.
So very early on.
Yeah, we're early in our journey. I mean, this is just a month on the full dose of everything.
Right.
And can you explain how all the other symptoms, how they are now, as far as the pain, the energy, the side effects, just everything, like what changed for you? You seem happier too. You're smiling now. You were not when I met you.
I was not before. I was in, or I'm not in as much pain now. My hair grew back very nicely.
Yes, I'm getting hair too.
And oh my goodness, it was so hard for me without my hair. I'm not getting inflamed as much. Like my joints inflammation is not nearly as much. And I can't tell you the last time I used my cane.
Yes. Oh, and your blood pressure, right? Isn't your blood pressure better?
My blood pressure, that's the one I'm still on the prescription for, but the baby dose.
Yes, from a higher to a baby. I think you're on half of the baby's dose that I would normally get. And what about the weight too? Because I know the meds were helping you gain weight.
So every time they put me on steroids, I would still gain a couple more pounds. And I have already started losing a few pounds. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And what else would you like to share with people because you've already been through the journey, and a lot of them might be early on, they might not have been diagnosed yet. They might just have some of the symptoms. Any other gold nuggets you like to share with them, or hindsight, or specific
Hindsight would definitely be, make sure you stand up for yourself. Yes. Like, I know the doctors go to school and they study the anatomy of the body, but you know your body, you know if something is wrong. So be vocal, say, no, this is wrong with me. I've been here for this, and this problem. I feel like it's not just one particular cause, one particular thing. I think we need to look at it holistically instead of just looking at each individual.
Yes. It's important because a lot of people, they look at their doctor thinking, whoa, the doctor knows best. He must know, like, fine, maybe I'm not sleeping enough. Maybe I'm overworked. And we get blown off a lot of times. And a lot of times, I think sometimes it is because a lot of times, a lot of the doctors are males, and they might think, well, you're a female, you're just over exaggerating. Like, come on. I don't think they're as empathizing as like a female to a female. That's just general. I'm not saying all of them are like this at all. Full disclaimer. And can you share with them how easy, like what I tell you to do? Is it like, are you like making all these like organic foods and cooking all day long and throwing stuff in blenders and 20 different herbal ingredients?
Not at all. It is very easy. The activators just come in a little packet. I rip it open and I take it. It takes me all of 30 seconds. It takes me longer to open the packet than it does to actually take it.
That's easy. Wow. All right. The science behind it is very, very, very complex, and many, 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 many years and studies went into it. But it's so simple and easy for everyone. Just open that packet once a day, right?
Yeah. Once a day.
Awesome. And I think it's important to attack the root cause. I remember when I was in full-blown heart failure and I was going to the heart doctor now, right? And I'm like, doc, with all due respect, we have to get to the cause because I'm still getting worse. If we don't get to the cause, like I'm still getting worse here. Like I'm already in heart failure. How much worse can I get? And and I said, doc, with all due respect, is any of this medication or this treatment you're giving me gonna stop the progression? No. Is any of it gonna slow it down? No. And I'm like, well, it's not helping my symptoms. What good is it? And I said, well, he goes, listen, 95% of the people here, I never know what the cause is. And I was like, and this is 95%.
Wow.
This is a heart failure. He wasn't just a heart doctor. He was a cardiac heart failure specialist. So he's a heart failure specialist, one Oregon, and 95 out of every 100 patients, he did not know the cause, which means he cannot get to the cause to stop the progression. So it's important to know if your healthcare provider is not getting you healthy, you need to reach to a new healthcare provider. Hello. Or look for healthier options. And I think it's important to know, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. You want to come to me, you guys can come to me. I think that's huge because a lot of people don't realize, they think, well, the doctor knows best. Just to let you guys know that are watching this right now, I'm educating a lot of the doctors because a lot of what I'm doing is new cutting edge science. And we are not simple supplementation. We are gene activation. We are activating genes, your genetic pathways and your genetic highways. And this is stuff that still to this day is not taught in medical school. See, the medical books, by the time they get published and copyrighted, they're already written a few years earlier. And then by the time they get approved to the school, that knowledge is so old. So if your doctor you're like, oh, my doctor's very experienced. Well, that's great. He's 20 years experience. That means he definitely probably has no idea what I'm talking about. So an experienced doctor is good in certain ways, but a lot of them don't keep up on the newest technology. They only keep up with the pharmaceuticals that push, that are pushed on them. So I think it's important to know when we attack the root cause, it's like this. To me, sometimes medication is just to treat a symptom. It doesn't attack the root cause. We have to attack the root cause because treating a symptom often is not stopping the progression. And it's like if your garden hose leaks, right? You put a Band-Aid on it. Well, it's good for now. That's kind of what a medication is. And it's not attacking the root cause. It's almost like if your roof leaks and you're like, let me just put a bucket down, right? That's what the medication's doing. It's kind of like just good for now, but man, that's going to blow and get worse. So what I do is I like to attack the root cause. And you know a little bit about this. I'm not going to talk too much about this here right now because this is a whole other lecture. But when we attack the root cause, we can stop the problem from getting worse. That's what modern medicine is missing. So I actually find the cause of the problem, I attack it, and then it stops the progression. It often reverses the problem. And now when you reverse the problem, the symptoms go away. When the symptoms go away, you don't need the medications for the symptoms that aren't there. And then, right? So we stop your problem from getting worse. We reverse some of the damage. Now your symptoms are going away. So you don't need the meds. And without the meds, you're not getting the side effects. You're not getting the weight gain. You're not getting the hypertension and needing more meds. You're not getting the dependencies. And part of the society today, some of the healthcare providers like keeping people sick. It's a moneymaker. It's so easy to be like, Nicole, you're so sweet. Your insurance is good. Let's see you next month for a blood pressure check. Here's 30 days worth, or hey, take this sample. I'll see you next week. So a lot of times, some of the doctors just don't know better. And some, it's easier. It saves them time to just keep you sick. Here, just take this. Here, just take this. See you next month. Book on the way out. And what they did is they just sold themselves a nice, quick, easy visit with your good insurance for next month. Book it on the way out. I'll check your blood pressure, right? And then once they stick you on the meds, then they know they have to see you back every month or every 2 or 3 months. Then they're like, oh, we need some blood work. Come on in for the blood work, right? To check that liver, kidneys. And then they're like, wait, we don't give results over the phone. You got to come in for the results. So now they basically gave themselves 12 visits. And I would say this, for those of you that don't realize, when we these root causes, there's multiple causes that we're attacking. We're attacking these free radicals, this oxidative stress, inflammation, right? Autoimmune is huge with inflammation. We're attacking mitochondrial malfunction. When I was diagnosed with my autoimmune, the doctor wanted to stick me on those autoimmune meds. I'm like, oh, heck no, I'm not getting that and weakening my immune system during the height of a lethal pandemic. And that's what you want to do with me, because that's what the traditional meds do, is they suppress your immune system. So now you're sick, and you're sick more often. When we attack the root causes, a lot of times we have a few different root causes. We have free radicals causing this oxidative stress inflammation. We have our mitochondria malfunctioning. There's the little energy stations in our cells that are required for the cells to live. We have toxins building up, causing toxicity. And more so with autoimmune problems, not only those, but we also have our collagen in our body depleting at a quicker rate. And for those of you that don't realize this, collagen builds up your bones, ligaments, tendons, joints, and muscles. So when I had started the new liquid collagen, I did it for my heart. I mean, a good side effect is my wrinkles are going away, but I did it for my heart because my heart's the biggest muscle. So I wanted to improve my heart. Now my heart functions normal. My cardiologist uses the collagen, so does his family. And there's different, there's different things out there, but I will steer people to what's best for their specific needs. I had tried powders before this. Powders just don't work, to be honest. There's a couple other liquids out there, but the one I use is absolutely, I gotta say, it's the best I've ever seen. It has 10 types. It not only others just replace the collagen that's missing. This one also slows down your collagen from breaking down more. So your collagen normally breaks down. So the collagen we take actually makes our body slow down the breakdown of the existing collagen we have. And it activates our genes to produce more of the good. So that's awesome. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that we may have forgotten here. We went over some symptoms, right? We went over some diagnoses. That rheumatoid's another one. Even asthma, eczema, psoriasis, a lot of the skin issues, a lot of the thyroid issues or autoimmune psoriasis, a lot of the intestinal stomach issues, celiacs, IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's. You have the ones that are less often diagnosed, the lupus, the MS. Even certain diabetes are autoimmune related as well. And the fibromyalgia, that means you're achy and we don't know why. Let me just think what else. Wow, we covered a lot, I'd say. So I want people to know, it's not, and that's all in a half hour, and I only had one healthy energy drink today. And so I would say for the viewers out there, it's important, if your healthcare provider is not getting you healthy, reach out to another healthcare provider. If you want to reach out with me, I do video visit consultations like this that are private, individual, confidential. I don't disclose any of your information unless you give me full permission, like thank you, Nicole, for doing that. So you guys can, if you're not getting my newsletter and you're supposed to be, go check your spam folder. It's probably there from info@Shana Melissa. If it's not there, you just go to shanamelissa.com, SHAYNAMELISSA.com, and you'll get a pop-up says, hey, do you want the infrequent newsletter, special savings, exclusive events? You submit your email, you get a once in a while newsletter from me about that stuff. So that's important. Just go to Shana Melissa, get the, on the pop-up, submit your email. And then what else? I'm just glad that we can spread awareness, because I was left feeling helpless and hopeless. And if I wasn't the healthcare provider and doing all this, like I've studied for years and years and years and years, a lot of this stuff that the docs don't know. So I feel honored now. 30 years ago, a doctor would look at me like, you're a nurse. And now they're like, like I had my nerve doctor call me up because my results and our mutual patients, I should have saved that voicemail. He's like, I'm ready to buy, and whatever you're doing, I'm ready to buy it. So, you're going to have good healthcare providers that are like that. And you're going to have others that just might want to keep you sick for quick, easy visits, because it is quicker to just hand you a script and go into, what foods you should stay away from, what causes inflammation, what doesn't. And then, yes, I wanted to tell people what's coming up. So a lot of times like this, when I do a video visit and I give you a lot of information in that one consult, we crammed it in for your mom, and it could be way too much at once because, you have these problems for a long time. I don't want to just say, here, take this, take that. How I work differently is I use a holistic approach. I look at body, mind, spirit, cellular level. I use more naturopathy when I can, natural occurring substances. I do functional medicine, but functional to me is an oxymoron, because if I attack the root cause, I don't need the medicine usually. So I merge all those multiple modalities: naturopathic, holistic, functional, integrative. So I can integrate in the natural options into your existing meds, or use them instead of, or, I'm not opposed to writing prescriptions when we need, but we just usually don't have to. We really, really, really don't. When we attack the root cause, 99% of the time, we don't need them. We just don't. So I wanted to enlighten people too on my upcoming class It's a course and workshop. Get healthy and happy with me in 2023. It is geared at specifically autoimmune disorders because there are so many of them out there, and I can't cram everything you need in one quick visit. So it's easier to do. It's a course, it's a workshop. We go into what are the signs and symptoms, what are some of the diagnoses, what are the tests you should go for, what are some of the triggers, what are food and drink triggers to stay away from, what foods could you use for medicinal purposes that have natural anti-inflammatory effects. We go into exercise, gut health, the root causes. We go into free rads, mitochondrial malfunction, inflammation, oxidative stress, toxins, how to combat them, how you can activate your genes, why liquid collagen is so important. We go into a lot during the course in the workshop. And if you're not sure of like, hey, your schedule, when it is, don't worry, because I took care of that. What I did was there's going to be live sessions, but there's also going to be recordings. So you get your own, Nicole, just so you know, you get your own private dashboard. So any class that you missed the live, you just go watch the replay. The replays is so cool because so anything in this workshop and course, you have the replays. You're like, Shana talks too quick. I need to put it on half speed, or let me pause it and take a note. You can do that. You could stop it, do the call to action. So you can watch them over and over again, half speed, double speed. Well, I don't think you want my talk on double speed. You can pause them. So with this upcoming Healthy Happy with Me workshop and course, they get the lives, they get the replay access. They're going to get a wellness workbook with a lot of the information, so they don't have to take a lot of notes. They're going to get they're going to get so many cool things in it. And they have worksheets that you could print out, write on them. You can fill them out online. And get this, what I did is something really, really cool. I was just with a new client, I think yesterday, and her doctor for her child does not take insurance, and he charges $800 per consult, just so you know. $800 per consult, and he sees her child often. Okay. And that's in addition to all of the things that he recommends, plus the cost of those. So I don't do that. So what I did was, because I know I gave you too much information in one shot when we first met, because your mommy, the nurse, was on, is I created this course and workshop so everyone can go at their own speed. They can look at, hey, you know what? Those are some good food suggestions. Let me write them down to my food list, so they can go at their own speed. But what I also did, so they can get the lives, they get the replays, they get the workbook. I created